Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. So the Justice Department of the United States labeled New York City, Seattle, and Portland as anarchist jurisdictions. Now, of course, a lot of people have already taken to social media to rightfully mock and deride this, pointing out that inherently, if it's an anarchist system, there's not really such a thing as a jurisdiction. However, my issue with this is that if they can just label cities anarchist jurisdictions and say that anyone participating in a protest, your right to free expression as guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States, is, anarchistic and anyone can be an anarchist and they can jail you for it, that's dangerous because that's a proving ground for how they start to really mess with your rights and civil liberties. And I hate that people in the media seem to pick up the story of, wow, can you believe how crazy this is? But no one says the quiet part out loud. No one talks about why this is so dangerous. They just want to say, isn't this so crazy? Oh, it's terrible. Or, isn't this so crazy? It's laughable. Ha ha ha. No one talks about how this isn't crazy. This is how they plan to legitimize mass arrests of perfectly innocent people and incarcerate them and just strip them of their rights. And what's also terrifying is that there's a segment of American society that would clap while this happens. That's what's bothering me today, that these anarchist jurisdictions could just be applied anywhere. Oh, in Kentucky, because of protests that are surely going to erupt in the wake of the lack of justice that has been served to Breonna Taylor. This is clearly the anarchists at work. Any problem, any possible bit of violence or vandalism is anarchism. It's the new communism. It's the new boogeyman designed to get Americans scared and quaking in their boots so that it can enable the federal power structures to crack down on anyone who remotely dissents against El Presidente Trump. That's the problem. But no one talks about that because everyone still wants to think it can't happen here. But it can, and it is. And that is a very distressing thing. Why is it that, in America, the land of the free, home of the brave, with liberty and justice for all, that never seems to be the case at any point in history? And all these people are calling for in these protests is equality and justice. And they're being met with literal fascist tactics. But no one wants to call it out because, that just seems so serious to say. I mean, come on, we're a democracy, right? Nearly all fascist regimes were democracies before they became fascist. And the very first people that the fascists locked up in Italy, Germany, Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Spain, Portugal, the very first people they locked up were those who could effectively organize, which were communists and anti-fascists. But we don't want to have that conversation, do we? We don't want to talk about how that's how it starts because, that's probably, if you're, 50% of America, my political enemy and other. So therefore, I don't care what happens to them. I don't identify with them or their ideology for whatever reason. And so now you're in this point where if anyone can be labeled a communist, anarchist or Antifa, if anyone can be labeled an anarchist or Antifa, no matter what it is, whether it's peaceful protest, trying to start a co-op, petitioning your governments to defund the police, refund education, if you can be ascribed this label, that gives the federal government power to make a political enemy out of anyone they want. But no one talks about that. And no one wants to recognize how dangerous that is, and that you are already there at that point. And no one wants to accept that a lot more pushback and serious action needs to happen before the American experiment with democracy ends. And the fact that no one's willing to talk about this publicly and openly and put sustained pressure on the fascist forces at work in the US government is what's bothering me today.